Ciao a tutti, I'm your host Rossella, and welcome to Cooking with Nonna. And this raving beauty is Nonna Linda. And tell everybody where you're from, Nonna Linda.
I'm from Brooklyn, New York, and my parents are from Piemonte in northern Italy.
So let's take a closer look and get to know our Nonna.
I was born in Brooklyn, New York, and I'm an only child. Back in those days, I think even today in Brooklyn, we go to specialty stores for our meats, specialty shopping for our breads, the fish. We don't buy everything in one supermarket, and that's what we did. We knew all the people by first name basis, and you go in and they would ask how the family was doing, and you'd ask them how their family was doing, and we were one big happy family. I really started assisting my mother and my grandmother when I was probably about 8 years old. But I didn't start cooking by myself until I was married. I struggled in the beginning because my husband came from a big family. He came from a different section of Italy than I was from, and so they had different style foods. So I really had to learn when I was about 20 years old how to cook all over again. When I married my husband, he had 3 children from a previous marriage, Roseanne, Tina, and Vincent, and they were young teenagers. And now they're all married and they have children, so I have 6 step-grandchildren ranging in age from 10 years old to 15 years old. I haven't started cooking with my grandchildren yet, but I understand 2 of them are already making breakfast. One is making French toast and the other one is making omelets. I'm a retired school teacher, and so now I've been retired for 31 years. And I do community service work. I'm very involved in New York City Parks and Recreation. So I've spearheaded a conservancy in New York City for the shoreland parks in Brooklyn. I would say the secret of cooking is to cook what you enjoy eating. That's about it.
So Nonna Linda, what treasures have you brought us from Piemonte?
Well, today we're going to make Vitello Tonnato.
Vitello Tonnato. And this is really interesting because we're going to make a loin of veal with a tuna fish sauce. And this is going to be served cold. Now, before you shut off this video, I assure you, this is very delicious.
It is.
Right?
Yes, it is.
So let's get started and show you how delicious this can be. So we're going to start
with the vegetables right in the pot.
With vegetables to make a broth to cook our vitello in, our loin of veal. And we're starting with a basic carrots, onions, celery, and except instead of onions, we are using leeks. Now, they have a little bit more of a mild flavor than an onion. And in Italian, these are called porri. So let's go ahead and add everything in there. Beautiful. And to this, we're going to add a little red wine vinegar. Just a little, just a touch. What else, Nonna?
Well, how about the veal?
Yeah, the meat, yes. Very important here. Nice piece of veal here.
Beautiful piece.
Now, you want to make sure you have a nice solid piece of meat. You don't want to do this with a fillet or with little cubes. It just doesn't work well. You want to be able to cut nice thin slices. And this also works very well with pork.
Delicious, absolutely.
With beef even, but we're going to do the veal.
Absolutely.
We're going to add a little bit of vino.
Right.
We'll have some later. Don't worry, I have a whole box, people. Okay. Some water.
We want to just cover everything now with the water.
Make sure everything's covered so it cooks evenly.
That's perfect.
Yeah. And una croce d'olio.
And a pinch of salt.
And some salt, but very little salt. So what we're going to do, we're going to turn our fire on, get some heat going.
That's it.
Let it come to a boil, and then let it hang out for about 2 hours simmering.
Exactly.
Okay, so now we're ready to make our tonno sauce.
We are ready. So we need a mixing bowl.
Got it right here.
And let's put in the tuna fish.
So we're using canned tuna in olive oil for this. Italian tuna is typically like that. What else goes in
And
here?
the mayonnaise.
Mayonnaise. Every girl's best friend. Ooh. Okay.
And some capers.
We have a couple capers in here. Now, don't be afraid to, throw a lot of capers in here. They're very salty, but our meat has barely any salt in it.
That's right.
So this sauce has to be really flavorful.
Anchovies.
Anchovies. So, yeah.
It's
I know what you're
quite
thinking.
a combination.
There's tuna, there's anchovies, there's capers, there's, the kitchen sink is in this sauce.
And now we need the lemon juice.
And just a touch of lemon juice. And let's get it together a little bit here. Shake it off. And to make a nice smooth puree, we have our handy dandy immersion blender. And you can use this thing hot or cold. And in this case, our cold tuna sauce. Get a nice smooth puree. Don't be afraid to get a little tuna on you.
That's okay.
All right. Yeah. And I think that's quite enough.
I think that's enough.
We're done. Done with the.
We're both wearing it.
Smells terrific.
It smells good.
I
yeah.
gotta say. I mean, I'm gonna have a lot of cats running around me later, but. And we're just gonna set this aside. And our veal has been hanging out in the fridge for about 2 hours. It's completely cool.
Chilled, right.
And we're just gonna extract our friend here. You want to make sure this is completely cooked because veal cannot be rare. Oh, and look at that. It's a beautiful piece of veal here. And take a nice sharp knife. I'm going to hold it with a fork to make sure it doesn't move around. And you want to make some nice, maybe quarter to half inch slices. And just measure it with a fork if you're not certain. So when would you typically make this dish?
I would make this dish during the summer. I usually make it during the summer out at the beach.
Oh, really?
Have my friends over. We have a nice salad with this, a loaf of Italian bread, and a lot of dry, white, chilled wine.
And you wouldn't really think to make this in the summertime if you saw the recipe because you'd be like, oh, I have to boil this for 2 hours. But, served chilled, it's so delightful and actually refreshing.
Oh, it's better chilled. I mean, you don't want to serve it hot. You want it to be cold. So after it's fully prepared, you can put it in the refrigerator and you can actually leave it there overnight.
Oh, wow. Look at how tender this meat is. Can you see? It's beautiful. Okay, so now we're going to get our plate out. Let's see what we can do here.
I'll help you out.
There we go. And just going to add a little bit of sauce to each one. Now, do your kids like eating this? Does your family like this? Were they hesitant at first? Because
Absolutely.
You haven't made this since you were young, right?
No, absolutely. No, they were. When they heard tuna fish, anchovies, and veal, they thought, no.
They're like,
Definitely
crazy?
not, yeah.
Just going to add a couple of capers for color. And, of course, the salt. And
that's it.
here we go. Mm-hmm. Now, this is ready to go back into the fridge for another couple hours or even overnight, like Nonna Linda said. Make it ahead of time and serve it for company. And when we take it out, we'll be ready to taste it. Our dish has been in the fridge for about 3 hours. It's completely, perfectly cooled. And we're ready to taste. Are you ready?
Yeah,
Are you
I'm
ready
ready.
for this?
I'm ready and waiting.
Let's go.
All the flavors have had time to blend and
They've gotten to know
be
each other
wonderful.
very well.
Yes. Thank you.
The veal has fully absorbed all the sauce that I'm excited to taste. Let me tell you. Okay. try a piece, especially with capers.
Delicious, fabulous.
That is excellent. I mean, it's not an overpowering tuna flavor. I love the saltiness of the capers and the mildness of the meat. The meat is almost like a blank canvas for the sauce, and the sauce is totally the star of the show. I love this recipe, and thank you for making this with me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being my nonna.
My pleasure, thank you.
Ciao.
Ciao.